The spaceport on Eridus IV buzzed with the usual sounds of ships landing and taking off. Merchants shouted prices. Security officers checked papers. Travelers from 100 worlds rushed to their destinations. But when Na Young stepped through the arrivals gate, a strange hush fell over the busy terminal. People stared at the human woman. She was not very tall, with long dark hair tied back from her face. Her eyes, covered by special glasses, did not focus on anything. In one hand, she held a folded white cane. In the other, she carried a long case that held her gyeogyam, a traditional Korean string instrument from Earth. A small bag hung from her shoulder. "Miss, you cannot go there," said the port officer, looking at her travel plan. "The bone dunes are forbidden." Na Young smiled. "I have all the proper permits." "Yes, but no one returns from the bone dunes." The officer leaned forward. 17 official expeditions have gone there, heavily armed, with the best technology. None came back. "I know the stories," Na Young said. Her voice was soft but firm. "I still need to go." The officer shook his head. "What do you think you can do there? You are—" He stopped, embarrassed. "Blind?" Na Young finished for him. "Yes, I have been since birth. That may be why I need to go." The officer gave up. He stamped her papers and pointed her toward the transport area. As Na Young tapped her way through the crowd with her cane, people moved aside. Some whispered behind their hands. She was used to this. It had happened on every world she visited. At the transport desk, she asked for a pilot willing to take her to the edge of the bone dunes. "No one will do that," said the clerk. "It's suicide." "I can pay well," Na Young said. "I just need to get to the edge." A man sitting nearby stood up. "I'll take you," he said. Na Young turned toward his voice. "Thank you. What is your name?" "Do-hyun." "I'm an engineer. My ship is small but fast." The clerk looked at Do-hyun like he was crazy. "You know what happens to people who go near the dunes?" Do-hyun shrugged. "I'll just drop her at the edge, not going in myself." As they walked to his ship, Do-hyun asked the question everyone wanted to ask. "Why would you want to go to the bone dunes? They're just a death trap with some valuable minerals not worth dying for." Na Young walked beside him, her cane tapping the ground. "They're more than that. The dunes are alive. They sing." Do-hyun almost stopped walking. "What do you mean?" "I've heard them in my dreams since I was a child. A complex melody that doesn't sound like any music on Earth. When I became a musician, I realized the sounds I heard weren't just dreams. They were real." Do-hyun didn't know what to say to that. He had heard many stories about the bone dunes over the years. Some said they were the remains of an ancient battlefield. Others claimed they were the skeletons of giant beasts. No one had ever suggested they made music. His ship was a small transport vehicle with room for just 2 passengers and some cargo. As they flew toward the dunes, Do-hyun explained what little was known about them. They appeared about 300 years ago, or at least that's when the first explorers found them. The dunes cover about 1,000 square miles in the equatorial region. They look like giant bones or crystals sticking out of the sand. Some are as tall as buildings. Na Young nodded. "What happens to the people who go there?" Do-hyun's face grew serious. "No one knows exactly. The first explorers never returned. The second group sent distress signals about seeing impossible things, hearing voices. Then silence. The third group had cameras sending live feeds. Everything looked normal until they reached the center of the dunes. Then the feeds showed them, attacking each other, screaming about monsters no one else could see. And no one has tried to study them from a distance? Oh, scientists have tried everything. Probes, long-range scans, robots. The probes disappear. The scans show nothing unusual. The robots stop working as soon as they enter the dunes." Na Young was quiet for a moment. "Yet the dunes don't spread. They stay in their area." "True. That's why the company set up mining operations on other parts of the planet. The dunes don't seem to be growing or moving." As they flew over the desert, Na Young pressed her hand against the window. "We're getting closer, I can feel it." Do-hyun checked his instruments. "We're still 30 miles out, how can you tell?" "The singing is getting louder." Na Young opened her case and took out her Geagium. The instrument had 12 strings stretched over a wooden body. She placed it on her lap and began to tune it. "What are you doing?" Do-hyun asked. "Preparing." Her fingers moved over the strings, creating soft notes that filled the small cabin. "When we land, I need to be ready to answer their song." Do-hyun wanted to argue that there was no song, no they in the dunes. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the confidence in her voice. Or maybe it was the way her simple music seemed to change the air around them. When they finally reached the edge of the bone dunes, Do-hyun saw them just as the sun was setting. The sight always took his breath away. Hundreds of crystal-like structures rose from the sand, glowing pink and orange in the fading light. They did look like massive bones, as if some giant creatures had died there long ago. He landed the ship about half a mile from the edge. "This is as close as I'm willing to go," he said. "Are you sure about this?" Na Young nodded. She had changed into desert clothes and sturdy boots. Her Geagium was in a carrying case strapped to her back. She held her cane in one hand and a small pack of supplies in the other. "How long will you wait for me?" she asked. Do-hyun hadn't thought about that. The smart thing would be to leave immediately. No one survived the dunes. But watching this blind woman prepare to walk alone into that deadly place made him feel responsible. 3 days, he said. "After that, I'll have to report you missing." Na Young smiled. "Thank you. That should be enough time." She touched his arm. "Don't worry, Do-hyun. I'll be back." As she walked away, tapping her cane against the sand, Do-hyun felt a strange chill. The sun was almost gone now, and the crystal structures seemed to glow with their own light. The wind whistled through them, creating eerie sounds that almost seemed like music. Na Young stopped at the edge of the dunes. She took a deep breath and began to sing. Her clear voice carried across the desert, a simple melody that somehow matched the wind's song. Then she tapped her cane 3 times on the sand and walked forward into the bone dunes, still singing. Do-hyun watched until he couldn't see her anymore. Then he sat down beside his ship to begin his 3-day wait. Around him, the desert grew, dark and cold. In the distance, the bone dunes glowed softly, like a galaxy of earthbound stars, and somewhere in their heart, a blind woman walked alone, guided by a song only she could hear. 3 days passed slowly for Do-hyun. He stayed beside his ship at the edge of the bone dunes, watching and waiting. Twice, messages came from the spaceport asking about his return. Twice, he made excuses to stay longer. On the morning of the 3rd day, Do-hyun checked his supplies. He had enough food and water for 1 more day. After that, he would have to leave. He tried not to think about Na Young alone in the dunes. No one survived the bone dunes. Everyone knew that. The sun climbed, high in the sky. The heat made the air shimmer above the sand. Do-hyun sat in the shadow of his ship and drank water from his bottle. Just as he was about to check his equipment again, he noticed movement on the horizon. He grabbed his binoculars and looked. There was a figure walking toward him from the dunes. A person, walking calmly. "Impossible," he whispered. But as the figure came closer, he saw it was Na Young. She was alive, and she was not alone. Beside her walked something that Do-hyun could not quite see clearly. It seemed to shift and change as it moved. Sometimes it looked almost human in shape. Other times it seemed to break apart into floating crystal pieces, only to come together again. The strange being glowed with soft light, like the bone dunes themselves. Do-hyun wanted to run to Na Young, but fear kept him still. He watched as she tapped her cane in front of her, walking steadily across the sand, the crystal being moved beside her, matching her pace. When they were about 20 steps away, Na Young called out, "Do-hyun, are you still there?" "Yes," he answered, his voice shaking. "I'm here." What is that with you?" Na Young smiled. "This is Hua. She is an Iridian. She wants to meet you." The crystal being moved forward. Up close, Do-hyun could see that it was made of the same material as the bone dunes. Its form settled into something roughly human-shaped, with a head, 2 arms and a body that narrowed at what might be called a waist. It had no legs, just a column of swirling crystal that hovered above the ground. "Hello, Do-hyun," said the being. Its voice sounded like wind chimes in a soft breeze. "Na-young has told me about you." Do-hyun looked from the crystal being to Na-young and back again. "You speak our language?" "I learned it from Na-young's mind," said Hwa. "We can share thoughts through music and vibrations." Na-young sat down on a rock and took a drink from Do-hyun's offered water bottle. "The bone dunes are not what we thought. Do-hyun, they're not bones at all. They're living crystals. They're part of the Iridians." "I don't understand," said Do-hyun. "What are the Iridians?" Hwa's form shifted slightly, catching the sunlight in patterns of rainbow colors. "We are the native people of this world. We have lived here for millions of years. Our bodies are made of crystal, and we share a group mind. The structures you call the bone dunes are our communication network." "But why did all the expeditions disappear? Why did people go mad when they entered the dunes?" Do-hyun asked. "We protected ourselves," Hwa said simply. "When strangers came with weapons and machines to take pieces of our network, we created images in their minds, false visions. We made them afraid. We made them leave or destroy themselves." Do-hyun looked at Na-young. "Then why didn't they harm you?" Na-young smiled. "Because I'm blind. Their defense works through visual signals. They create images that drive people mad. But I can't see those images. Instead, I heard their real voices, their music." "She came to us singing," said Hwa. Her crystal body hummed softly. "No one has ever done that before. She spoke to us in music, the language closest to our own. We knew then that she was different." Na-young explained more. "The Iridians communicate through vibrations. Their crystal bodies receive and send complex patterns like radio waves. Their whole society works through this network of crystal formations. What we call the bone dunes is actually their communication center." Do-hyun tried to understand. "So they're peaceful. They just want to be left alone." "They're peaceful but not simple," said Na-young. "Their civilization is very advanced. They've been watching humans and other species for centuries. They know many things we don't." Hwa moved closer to Do-hyun. He fought the urge to step back. "We wish to speak with your leaders," she said. "Na-young has convinced us that not all humans are dangerous. We are ready to share knowledge." Do-hyun looked at the crystal being with new interest. "What kind of knowledge?" "Science, art, history, ways to live in balance with planets instead of using them up," said Hwa. "We have seen many species rise and fall over millions of years." Na-young reached out and touched Hwa's crystal surface gently. The being hummed in response. "The Iridians live for thousands of years, Do-hyun. They remember things that happened before humans even existed, and they're willing to share what they know." Do-hyun thought about what this could mean. If the Iridians were really an advanced civilization, making contact would change everything. His mind raced with questions. "But how do we explain this to people?" "No one will believe me without proof." "They don't need to believe you," said Na-young. "Hwa has agreed to come back with us to the spaceport. She will speak directly to your leaders." Do-hyun looked at the crystal being with alarm. "Is that safe? For her, I mean. People might panic when they see her." "I can change my form to seem less strange," said Hwa. Her body shifted and changed, becoming more solid and human-like. The glow dimmed until she looked almost like a person made of clear glass. "Is this better?" Do-hyun nodded slowly. "That might work, but there will still be questions. Many questions." "Questions are good," said Hwa. "Questions mean people are thinking instead of fearing." They spent the next few hours preparing for the journey back. Hwa explained more about her people. Kvi, Iridians had no need for food or water. They got energy directly from the sun. They did not die as humans understood death. When their crystal bodies wore out after thousands of years, they broke down and became part of the network again. New Iridians formed from the network when needed. "We are both individuals and part of a whole," Hwa explained. "I am myself, but I also carry the memories and knowledge of my entire species." As they packed the ship, Na-young told Do-hyun how she had spent her 3 days in the dunes. "At first they were just curious about me. They tested me with sounds instead of sights. When they realized I could hear their true voices, they brought me to their central gathering place. Were you afraid? Do-hyun asked. Na-young thought for a moment. Not afraid, overwhelmed. Their music is so complex, so beautiful. They showed me how they see the world through vibrations. It's not like human vision. They perceive patterns of energy, movements, connections between things. You understand them better than I could, said Do-hyun. Only because I've always experienced the world through sound and touch, said Na-young. Being blind made me the perfect person to meet them. What others would see as a weakness became a strength. As the sun began to set, they were ready to leave. Hwa took one last look at the glowing crystals of the bone dunes. My people are watching, she said. They are nervous but hopeful. Do-hyun started the ship's engines. I can't promise how people will react, he warned. We understand risk, said Hwa. We have hidden for centuries. Perhaps it is time to stop hiding. As the ship rose into the air, Na-young took out her geum and began to play a soft melody. Hwa's body hummed in harmony. The sound filled the small cabin, beautiful and strange. Do-hyun set a course for the spaceport and tried to imagine how the world was about to change. No one had survived the bone dunes until a blind woman walked in singing. Now, everything would be different. 1 month had passed since Na-young returned from the bone dunes with Hwa. The news had spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Scientists, diplomats, and curious people from dozens of worlds had flocked to Eridus for a small research base now stood at the edge of the dunes. The base had laboratories, meeting rooms, and housing for the research team. Na-young lived there full-time as the chief ambassador to the Iridians. Her small room had few personal items, just her clothes, her geum, and some books written in the raised dot system blind humans used to read. Every morning, Na-young walked to the main meeting room to work with Jin-ho, the lead scientist studying the Iridians. Jin-ho was a tall, lean man who spoke quietly and moved with careful precision. He specialized in studying alien life forms. How do they reproduce? Jin-ho asked as they sat together with Hwa. Do they have children like humans do? Hwa's crystal form shimmered as she formed her answer. After a month among humans, she had learned to keep a more solid shape that made people less nervous. She looked like a woman made of clear glass with soft light glowing inside. We do not reproduce as you do, Hwa said. When we need new members, the crystal network creates them. The new ones form slowly, growing from small crystals into full beings over about 50 years. They are born with the shared knowledge of our people. Jin-ho made notes on his tablet. Fascinating. So there are no families, no parents. All Iridians. Our family, said Hwa. All are connected through the network. The older ones teach the younger ones how to use their individual minds along with the shared mind. Na-young listened carefully. After a month of daily contact with the Iridians, she understood them better than anyone else. It's like their whole society is a song, she explained to Jin-ho. Each Iridian is both a single note and part of the full melody. Jin-ho nodded. I think I understand. It's very different from human society. We are all separate even when we work together. Not so separate, said Hwa. We have watched humans for centuries. You connect through your music, your stories, your shared feelings. You just can't hear each other's thoughts. The door opened and Do-hyun walked in. Since their return from the dunes, he had been promoted to head of transportation for the research base. He visited Na-young often, bringing news from the spaceport and the wider galaxy. The Galactic Council has sent a message, he told them. They want to establish official diplomatic relations with the Iridians. They're sending representatives next month. Hwa's form brightened slightly. This is good news. My people are ready to join the wider community of intelligent species. There's more, said Do-hyun. They want Na-young to continue as the primary contact person. They've been impressed with the progress she's made in communication. Na-young smiled. I would be honored, but I need to spend more time in the dunes. There's so much more to learn. Jin-ho looked worried. You've been spending a lot of time there already. 3 or 4 days at a time. Is it safe? It's perfectly safe, Na assured him. The Iridians would never hurt me, and I'm learning so much. Their way of perceiving the world is amazing. They don't see as we do. They feel vibrations that tell them about everything around them. Like how you use sound, said Do-hyun. Yes, but much more advanced. I've started to learn how to do it myself, said Na. When I'm in the dunes, surrounded by their crystal network, I can feel vibrations in new ways. It's like seeing, but better than seeing. I can feel the shape of things, their movement, even some of their internal structure. Jinho leaned forward with interest. You're saying your brain is adapting to their way of perception. That's incredible. It only works when I'm in the dunes, Na explained. Their crystal network amplifies the ability, but each time I can do a little more. Hua turned toward Na. You are learning quickly, faster than we expected. No other species has been able to adapt to our perception methods before. Throughout the day, more meetings took place. Engineers discussed what humans could learn from Iridian crystal technology. Medical researchers wondered if the crystals could help with healing. Government officials worried about security. Na attended some meetings but spent most of her time with different Iridians who came from deeper in the dunes to meet humans. She played her gayagam for them and taught them human songs. In return, they taught her more about their vibrational language. That evening, Na sat outside the base with Do-hyun, listening to the night sounds of the desert. The bone dunes glowed softly in the distance. Jinho is worried about you, Do-hyun said. He thinks you're spending too much time with the Iridians. He's afraid you might lose touch with your human side. Na smiled. Jinho worries too much. I'm not losing anything. I'm gaining a new way to experience the world. But you're changing, said Do-hyun. Everyone can see it. You move differently now. You seem to know when people are nearby without hearing them. You can tell what mood they're in without them speaking. Is that a bad thing? Na asked. Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. No, not bad, just different. I guess I'm a little afraid too. Afraid that one day you'll go into the dunes and decide not to come back. Na reached out and found his hand. I'll always come back. I belong to both worlds now. That's why I can help build this bridge between our people. The next morning, Na prepared for another visit to the dunes. Jinho came to see her before she left. I have a new recording device for you, he said, handing her a small object. It measures vibrations across a wide range of frequencies. It might help us understand how the Iridians communicate. Na put the device in her pack. I'll use it, but you know the best way to understand them is through music. They respond to harmony, to patterns of sound that have meaning. Science needs measurements too, Jinho said with a smile in his voice. Science and art together, Na agreed. That's how we'll truly understand each other. Hua joined them as Na was ready to leave. Today we will take you deeper into the network, she said. The oldest ones wish to meet you. They have memories from before humans walked on Earth. Jinho could not hide his excitement. Ask them about their history. When did they first develop? Their crystal forms? Do they have records of climate changes on Aridas IV? I'll ask them everything, Na promised. But they don't think about time the way we do. Their memories aren't stored like our history books. They're more like songs that contain knowledge. As Na walked into the dunes with Hua, she felt the familiar change begin. The vibrations around her grew stronger. She could sense the crystal formations without touching them. Each one hummed with its own tone, yet all were part of a greater harmony. The deeper we go, the stronger the network, Hua explained. The oldest memories are kept at the center. Na nodded. I can feel the difference. It's like the music is becoming more complex, more layered. You are beginning to hear our true voice, said Hua. The voice that has sung on this world for millions of years. They walked for hours, going further than Na had ever been before. With each step, her awareness expanded. She began to sense not just the crystals, but the air currents, the small creatures hiding in the sand, the distant movements of the research base behind them. "This is incredible," she whispered. "This is just the beginning," Hua replied. "The oldest ones will show you much more. They believe you are important, Na Young. They believe you came to us for a reason." "What reason?" "That is what we must discover." "Together," said Hua. "Something is coming. Something both our peoples need to prepare for." Na Young returned from the center of the bone dunes 3 days later. Her face was serious as she walked into the research base. Jinho and Do-hyun rushed to meet her. "What happened?" Jinho asked. "You look troubled." Na Young set down her pack and sat heavily in a chair. "I need to speak with the base leaders right away. There's something important we need to discuss." Within an hour, all the senior staff gathered in the main meeting room. Governor Sunmi, who supervised all human activity on Aritas 4, had flown in from the capital city as soon as she received Na Young's message. Sunmi was a short woman with a commanding presence. She had been governor for only 2 months, but she had already earned respect for her fair decisions. "Tell us what you learned," Sunmi said to Na Young. Na Young stood before them, her hands resting on her Gaiagium. "The oldest Iridians showed me something disturbing. Our sun is going to produce a massive solar flare in 5 days. The flare will be strong enough to destroy both the Iridian civilization and all human settlements on this planet." The room filled with surprised voices. Sunmi raised her hand for quiet. "How can they know this? Our scientists have detected no unusual solar activity. The Iridian crystal network is sensitive to changes in space and time," Na Young explained. "Their entire civilization is built on detecting and using vibrations. They can sense disturbances in the sun that our instruments can't detect yet." Jinho frowned. "That's hard to believe. We have very advanced equipment monitoring the sun." "I know it sounds strange," Na Young said. "But the Iridians have survived for millions of years by predicting these events. Their crystal structures act as a giant detection system. They've never been wrong." Sunmi looked troubled. "Even if this is true, what can we do? Evacuating an entire planet in 5 days is impossible." "Not impossible, but difficult," said Do-hyun. "We have enough transport ships to evacuate the human settlements if we start immediately. But we would need to use every ship available and work around the clock." Governor Sunmi walked to the window and looked out at the bone dunes glowing in the distance. "I need more proof before I order a full evacuation. The political and economic cost would be enormous if this turns out to be a false alarm." "I understand," said Na Young. She turned to Jinho. "Did you analyze the recordings from the device you gave me?" Jinho nodded. "Yes, but I don't know how to interpret most of the data. The vibration patterns are unlike anything I've seen before." "May." "Hi." Na Young held out her hand. Jinho gave her his tablet. Na Young ran her fingers over the screen, feeling the patterns displayed there. After a moment, she began to play her Gaiagium, creating sounds that matched the vibration patterns. As she played, Hua entered the room, the crystal being moved to Na Young's side, her form glowing brightly. "Those are the warning patterns," Hua confirmed. "They show the buildup of energy in the sun that will lead to the flare." Governor Sunmi still looked uncertain. "I want to believe you, but I need scientific confirmation. Jinho, can your team analyze this data and verify it?" "We can try," Jinho said. "But it would take time to understand this completely. Time we may not have." The debate continued for hours. Some believed the Iridians. Others wanted more proof. As night fell, they reached a compromise. Governor Sunmi would begin preparation for evacuation, but would not give the final order until their own scientists could confirm the danger. 3 tense days passed. Jinho and his team worked without rest, trying to make sense of the Iridian data. Transport ships gathered at the spaceport, ready to evacuate if needed. Na Young spent most of her time with Hua, learning more about what would happen when the solar flare hit. On the morning of the 4th day, Jinho burst into Na Young's room. "The Iridians were right," he said, his voice tight with worry. "Our instruments just detected massive changes in the sun. The flare is coming, and it's bigger than anything we've ever recorded. We have less than 2 days." Na-young nodded. I knew they were telling the truth. Have you told the governor? I'm on my way there now. She'll order the evacuation immediately. Na-young gathered her few belongings. I need to speak with the Iridians. They must have a plan to survive this too. Jin-ho looked at her strangely. Na-young, the Iridians can't leave the planet. Their crystal bodies are part of this world. We can evacuate humans, but the Iridians will have to face the flare. There must be something we can do to help them, Na-young insisted. We barely have enough ships to save ourselves, Jin-ho said gently. I'm sorry. Throughout the day, chaos spread across Aridus 4 as the evacuation order went out. People rushed to the spaceports, carrying what little they could. Governor Sunmi organized everything with calm efficiency, but fear was everywhere. Na-young found Do-hyun at the research base, supervising the loading of scientific equipment. I need your help, she said. I need to get to the center of the bone dunes one more time. Do-hyun stopped working. Why? We're evacuating. There's no time for more research. It's not for research. The Iridians have called me. The oldest ones want to see me before the flare hits. It's too dangerous. You need to get on an evacuation ship. Na-young touched his arm. Do-hyun, please. I can't abandon them. They're my friends. They showed us this danger. I at least need to say goodbye. Do-hyun sighed. I'll take you to the edge of the dunes, but you need to promise you'll come back in time to catch the last transport. I promise, Na-young said. As they flew toward the bone dunes, they could see the evacuation in progress across the planet. Ships rose into the sky everywhere, heading for orbit. The sun seemed brighter than usual, though Jin-ho had explained the real changes weren't visible to human eyes yet. What do you think the Iridians want to tell you? Do-hyun asked. Na-young shook her head. I don't know, but they've survived for millions of years. Maybe they know how to survive this too. When they reached the edge of the dunes, Hwa was waiting. For them. The crystal being's form was pulsing with bright energy. Thank you for coming, she said to Na-young. The Council of Elders is waiting. Na-young turned to Do-hyun. Wait for me here. I'll be back as soon as I can. The last transport leaves in 6 hours, he reminded her. Don't be late. Na-young nodded and followed Hwa into the dunes. As they walked, she noticed changes in the crystal formations. They seemed more active, vibrating with intense energy. What's happening to your people? She asked. We are preparing, Hwa said. The solar flare brings great danger but also great opportunity. We have survived such events before. At the center of the dunes, a circle of tall crystal formations waited. These were the oldest Iridians, the ones who remembered the earliest days of their civilization. As Na-young approached, she could feel their vibrations washing over her, like waves. One crystal, taller than the others, sent out a pattern that Hwa translated. We have decided to share our method of survival with you, Hwa said. You have proven that humans can be trusted. Thank you, Na-young said, but I'm not sure I understand. How will you survive the flare? We will use the energy, Hwa explained. The flare contains massive amounts of power. We will channel it through our network to trigger our transformation cycle. Instead of destroying us, it will help us evolve to a new form. That's amazing, Na-young said. But how can humans help? With that, we need harmony, said Hwa. The energy must flow in perfect patterns. Your music, your understanding of vibration and harmony can help guide the flow. You can be the conductor of our transformation symphony. Na-young felt the weight of what they were asking. You want me to stay during the flare? To help direct the energy? Yes, Hwa said simply. It is dangerous. You would need to be at the center of the network when the flare hits. But without your help, many of my people may not survive the transformation. Na-young thought of the evacuation, of Do-hyun waiting at the edge of the dunes, of the last transport preparing to leave. She thought of her promise to return in time. Then she thought of the Iridians who had warned them of the danger, who had shared their knowledge freely, who had accepted her when others saw only her blindness. I'll help you, she said at last. Tell me what I need to do. Do-hyun paced back and forth at the edge of the bone dunes. 5 hours had passed since Na-young had gone with Hwa. The last transport would leave in 1 hour, and she had not returned. His communicator beeped. It was Governor Sun-mi. Do-hyun, where are you? The final transport is preparing for departure. We need you on board. I'm waiting for Na-young, he replied. She went into the dunes to speak with the Iridians one last time. You need to return immediately, Sun-mi said. The solar flare will hit sooner than we expected. Jin-ho says we have less than 12 hours. Do-hyun looked at the glowing crystal formations. I can't leave without her. There was a pause. Do-hyun, this is a direct order. Return to the spaceport now. We cannot risk losing the last transport. He knew she was right. He knew he should obey. But the thought of leaving Na-young behind was impossible. I need more time, he said. You have 30 minutes, Sun-mi replied. After that, we must leave, with or without you both. Do-hyun turned off his communicator and stared at the dunes. The crystals seemed to pulse with energy, glowing brighter than he had ever seen them. Something was happening in there. He made his decision and began walking into the dunes. He had never gone in alone before. The crystals towered above him, their strange shapes casting shadows in the fading daylight. He kept his eyes on the ground, remembering what Na-young had said about the Iridians' visual defenses. I'm not here to harm you, he called out. I'm looking for Na-young. Please help me find her. The air around him vibrated with strange energies. He felt dizzy for a moment but kept walking. After what seemed like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, he saw a glow ahead that was different from the crystals. It was Na-young, sitting in a circle of tall crystal formations, playing her geogam. Na-young, he called. She stopped, playing, and turned her head. Do-hyun, what are you doing here? It's dangerous. He rushed to her side. We need to leave now. The last transport is waiting. The flare is coming sooner than expected. Na-young shook her head. I can't go. The Iridians need me here. They're preparing for transformation and my music helps guide the process. But you'll die if you stay, Do-hyun said. The flare will destroy everything on the surface. Not everything, said a voice behind him. Hwa appeared, her crystal form, now towering and more complex than before. The energy will change us, not destroy us. We have survived many such events over millions of years. But Na-young is human, Do-hyun argued. She can't survive what you can. We will protect her, Hwa said. She will be at the center of our network, where the energy flows are controlled. It is not without risk, but we believe she will survive. Na-young reached out and found Do-hyun's hand. I have to try. They've shared so much with us. I can't abandon them now. Do-hyun looked at his communicator. The final transport would leave in 15 minutes. Even if they left immediately, they might not make it back in time. Then I'm staying too, he said suddenly. Do-hyun, no, Na-young protested. You don't have to risk your life. I'm not leaving you alone, he said firmly. Besides, someone needs to tell the story of what happens here, whether we survive or not. Hwa's form pulsed with light. Your courage honors us. Come, we must prepare. The flare approaches. The Iridians guided them to the very center of the dunes, where a circle of massive crystal formations created a protected space. Na-young sat in the middle with her geogam. Do-hyun sat beside her with a small recording device he had brought to document their experience. What do I need to do? He asked. Just be still, Hwa instructed. Na-young will play the guidance harmonies. The crystals will do the rest. As the sun began to set, Na-young started to play. Her fingers moved across the strings of her instrument, creating complex patterns of sound. The crystal formations around them began to resonate, picking up the harmonies and amplifying them. Do-hyun watched in amazement as the entire bone dunes began to glow with increasing brightness. The crystals hummed and vibrated. The sound grew until he could feel it in his bones. It's beginning, Hwa said, her voice now a chorus of tones. The flare is touching the outer atmosphere. Na-young played faster, her face serene with concentration. The music became more complex, layers upon layers of sound weaving together. Do-hyun felt a strange pressure building around them as if the air itself was becoming solid. "Are you afraid?" he asked Na-young. She shook her head, her fingers never stopping their dance across the strings. "No. I can feel what's happening. It's beautiful, Do-hyun. The energy is flowing through everything in patterns I never imagined possible." The sky turned red, then purple, then a blinding white that forced Do-hyun to close his eyes. The sound of the crystals grew to a deafening roar. He felt Na-young's hand find his, gripping tightly. Then everything went silent. When Do-hyun opened his eyes again, the world had changed. The bone dunes were gone. In their place stood towering spires of crystal that reached hundreds of feet into the sky. They glowed with inner light in all colors of the rainbow. Na-young sat beside him, her Geagium silent in her lap. She was smiling, her face turned up to the sky. "Can you see it?" she asked. "Can you see what they've become?" "I see it," Do-hyun said in wonder. "The crystals have grown, they're larger, more complex." "Not just grown," Na-young said, "transformed. The solar energy changed them, just as they said it would. This only happens once every 1,000,000 years. Figure approached them, glowing with brilliant light. It was Hua, but changed. Her form was now tall and intricate, a masterpiece of crystal architecture. "You survived," Hua said, her voice rich with new harmonics, "as we hoped you would." "What happens now?" Do-hyun asked. "Now we rebuild," said Hua, "and we share what we have learned. Your people will return to Aridus IV soon. They will find a world changed, but not destroyed." 3 weeks later, the first ships returned to Aridus IV. The scientists were amazed to find the planet not only intact, but transformed. The bone dunes had become a forest of crystal spires, beautiful beyond imagination. Governor Sunmi was the first to step onto the surface. She found Na-young and Do-hyun waiting for her, standing beside Hua and other transformed Iridians. "You stayed," Sunmi said, shaking her head in wonder. "When the transport left without you, we thought you were lost." "We found something instead," Na-young said. "The Iridians want to share it with all humans." Hua stepped forward. "We have learned to channel energy in new ways. We can teach you to perceive space and time as we do, to travel between stars in days instead of years." Sunmi's eyes widened. "That would change everything. Faster than light travel has been impossible." "Impossible until now," Na-young said. "The harmony of our two species has created something new. In the months that followed, Aridus IV became the center of a new age of cooperation. The crystal spires, once feared as the deadly bone dunes, became a place of learning and exchange. Scientists, artists, and diplomats from across the galaxy came to study with the Iridians. Na-young remained as the chief ambassador, continuing to bridge the gap between humans and Iridians through music. She taught others to hear the crystal harmonies, while the Iridians taught humans to perceive vibrations in new ways. Do-hyun worked beside her, documenting everything they learned. His recordings of the transformation became famous throughout the settled worlds. But more important to him was watching Na-young grow into her role, seeing her find purpose in a gift that others had once seen as a limitation. One evening, as they sat beneath the crystal spires watching the sunset, Na-young played a new melody, on her geagam. The crystals around them hummed in harmony. "Do you ever regret staying?" Do-hyun asked. Na-young smiled. "Never. How could I regret being part of this? We've changed the course of 2 civilizations." "All because you heard a song no one else could hear," said Do-hyun. "All because I listened," Na-young corrected. "Sometimes the universe speaks to us in ways we don't expect. We just need to be willing to listen." Above them, the first stars appeared in the darkening sky. Soon ships would travel between them faster than ever thought possible, carrying the harmony of human and Iridian cooperation to distant worlds. And it had all begun because a blind woman walked into the bone dunes, singing.